So, one of the new projects, or I should say purchases, is a vintage Bonanza mini bike. Let's check it out. All right, so one of the recent purchases here, this was something that actually wasn't intended to buy this right now, but I have been keeping an eye out. I've always been a huge fan of vintage mini bikes. That was basically where I started as a kid. I had a guy live down the end of the street that had mini bikes, mini frames, and I don't know how I did it, but I managed to purchase a mini bike frame from him from saving all my lawn mowing money, and I ended up purchasing a mini bike that had a jack shaft, just like this one, that actually had an early version of a Hurst Earhart disc brake on it. And that mini bike was made by K&P Manufacturing in Azusa, California. The company was called, or the mini bike line, go-kart line, was called Bug, and I had a Flea model. It was a 1962 Flea. Didn't even know it, but that was the frame that I bought from him. I restored it, used it as a pit bike at the drags in the 80s and 90s. I actually have a few videos of it that I will show right here. Anyway, the mini bike was stolen back when I had it at one of my other garages, and I'd always been on the lookout for another one. Never really found a Bug mini bike. They're very difficult to find. There's some other ones that are out there that are vintage, very collectible mini bikes. One's a Taco. And then the other one's a Bonanza. Don't really know that much about this one. The only thing that I do know is late at night, just scrounging through Facebook, and on my city's community bulletin board page, of all places, somebody had an ad that said, "Moving, must sell tonight." And this is one of those in the right place at the right times. I contacted the guy. The ad was 4 hours old, and he basically stated that he had to be out of the house by midnight. Kind of played dumb because I just wanted to try to get as much information about it as I could. Just some basics. Well, I might be interested, because he had two of them. One looked like it was a large wheel, looked like a Chinese knockoff mini bike, and then he had this one. And I knew what it was. I knew it was a vintage Bonanza. Basically, the tag gives it away. So what I ended up doing was, I said, does it run? I'm thinking about getting it. And figured, we'll get another one, use it as a pit bike for the drags. But as far as this one goes, this is a Bonanza BC 1200. I ended up paying $300 for it. The guy wanted $800 for the both of them, but I was not interested in the Chinese big wheel knockoff, so I offered him $300 and he took it. They're valued at anywhere from $600 to $1,200, but this one was missing the front and rear fender, and it's missing the chain guard, which that will add more value to the Mini. So what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to continue to look for a Flea. So I will try to add a Flea, a very collectible Flea, to the stable. And then I'm probably going to look for a good looking Taco, and then I will keep this BC 1200. Just need to get it running first, so that'll be the next thing that we tackle. All right, so I did a little bit of cleanup on the mini bike. It had a lot of grease and oil, dirt, grime, oil that got on the crankcase and attracted some dirt and grass, so I got that all cleaned up. You know, obviously this is a cheap Harbor Freight Chinese knockoff of a Honda, and you know, I'm gonna get this thing off of here as quick as I can and go back to an original flathead that goes with this thing. But it is a true Bonanza. It's got the kidney bean, or the kidney wheels, I guess kidney bean, I'm not sure what they are. It also has specific foot pegs that are year specific. And from what I've been told, with these wheels and these, not kickstand, but foot pegs, that this is a 68 or earlier because of the foot pegs. And I guess they use the kidney bean wheels from 66 on up. So that kind of locks it in as to what it is. I also noticed that it looked like the frame had been sandblasted, but obviously they missed some spots. So what we're seeing here is the classic Bonanza blue. So you could see it here on the fender mounts underneath the forks. So yeah, this is the classic Bonanza blue, which 80% of them came blue, I believe, something like that. I guess the serial numbers are fairly meaningless, although I have heard that the 109, or the first numbers of 109, is an earlier model. Obviously this one's a 129, so I would assume possibly that it means it's a bit older. But again, the serial numbers really have no meaning with Bonanza, because they just had a bin of serial numbers or tags that they just randomly pull out of a box and then rivet them onto the bike. So you can see on the swing arm, it does have the blue. It looks like somebody tried to paint it like a taco purple, and I'm not sure why they just painted the swing arm only. But again, this thing looks like somebody maybe was in the middle of a restoration on it, and then slapped it together to drive it, or maybe just this was the mock-up and they never took it apart and finished it. So looks like somebody put on a new brake set, a new throttle assembly. The seat appears to be a reproduction, although it's got a little bit of damage on it. I don't know if somebody makes these, but the unfortunate part is if you go to lift it up by the back of the seat, is it flexes the bottom of the wood. So it's ready to go through it and do the typical checks to see if it has fuel spark, compression, whatnot. The fuel tank, I know, looks like crap. I mean, yeah, it's been sitting a while. So let's take this thing apart and see if we can clean it out, and hope that nothing got sucked into the carburetor. So, well, just checking this thing out a little bit more. Doesn't look like the gas tank's going to come out without having to take the engine out. I don't know that there's enough room to lift the tank to get it past these bolts, number one. The other issue is this has got one of those turtle rabbit throttles with throttle arm, and looks like however they hooked up the throttle linkage, yeah, it's not doing squat as far as throttle control. So, well, there is not enough room to lift the tank to clear these bolts. So I'm going to go ahead and do it the kind of old-fashioned way. You could see all the crap that's in here, and we'll just pull the strainer out and we'll just start cleaning this thing. So, pretty classic sign of varnished yellow fuel. So we'll see if we could slosh it around and clean it out, and then start over. It basically looks like coffee grounds in there, but it's as good as I'm going to get it for what I'm trying to do. Well, there is one small item on this thing, and that is there's a wire coming out of the crankcase that's been clipped or cut off. So Not sure what that's all about. Could have something to do with the electrical system. So I went ahead and put one of my trusty 44S AC Delco plugs on there, and let's turn the light off. I got the ignition turned on, and let's see if we can crank it and see a spark. Well, that sure looks like a spark to me. All right, let's give that a try. Well, may not be maybe a 10 millimeter on some of the parts, but at least we still got a 13/16 on the spark plug. Got the spark plug out. Let's see what spark plug looks like hooked up with a little bit of ether in it. All right, got plenty of spark. All right, a little shot of ether down the throat. Wow. Not even a pop. Well, let's try this. We'll open up the throttle, then shoot some ether. Let's try it again. Well, even with ether in here and spark, it obviously has compression. This thing should be firing, but I'm not sure why it's not. So, could it be time? Maybe it's time. Maybe it might be time for one of these. I don't know. Even with an electronic module on these things, I've never seen one not want to run when it has spark and you've filled the combustion chamber with ether. So I'll have to look into this a little more. All right, well, we had some issues with the carburetor on the Bonanza. It was not wanting to idle. It was not wanting, it would run up at the top end, but it wouldn't come down to the idle circuits. I couldn't get it to run long enough. I basically would make it about 1 to 2 houses, and then it would shut off out on the street. So I just kind of got a little frustrated and went on Scamazon, and I went and bought a new replacement carburetor kit. So I went ahead and took the air cleaner off and the 2 bolts there, slid the carburetor off, and went ahead and put a replacement carburetor on there. It's pretty cheap, but I figured for 15 bucks with all the extra stuff, fuel line, fuel filter, spark plug, and the new carburetor, that it was well worth the shot. So let's fire it up and we'll give it a test run. Let's see. Turn the kill switch. Turn the fuel on. Put it on choke. Idle pretty good, although it is on choke. Let's take it out in the front yard, make a pass with it. Alright, let's give it a try here. ran pretty good. Just needs a couple little minor adjustments. Probably just needs a little bit of adjustment on the idle, bring the idle up a little bit, and then the brake will need some adjustment too. So basically just loosen up that brake lever and pull the string a bit tighter. But man, it's fast. It's faster than my previous mini bike. So previous mini bike went about 20-25 miles an hour. This one goes about 25 to 30. So one thing that is a bummer, there is no kill switch on the bars, you know, the typical button. The only thing I have is down here. I'd like to have that in reach of the handlebars so you don't have to take your hands off. That'd be a lot smarter. So I'll see what I can do about that. But this engine is not going to stay on this mini bike. In spite of it being fast and being a 6.5 horsepower, this thing needs an old original flathead Briggs and Stratton, and I've got a few of those to choose from. So we'll that'll be a next project for later, because we're going to end up having to rebuild an engine, restore an engine, and then put that engine on this mini bike so it looks period correct. Again, 66 to 68 Bonanza BC 1200. And boy, what a great purchase. 300 bucks, you can't beat that at all. Thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe. We got ourselves a new pit bike at Huey's Garage. Have a good one.